The road down which the country is going, does it make you feel bitter?
I don't feel bitter. I'm very positive about the future of Pakistan. We have a lot on our side. But something that is a concern for me is how poisonous the atmosphere has become. And it's been allowed to become like this because the state has abdicated its responsibilities in certain areas. The madrasa system, it's being allowed to spew venom and hatred and intolerance. And they're brainwashing children, and they're teaching their own distorted version of Islam and the Quran. And they're brainwashing the children of today to feel like their only contribution to Islam is jihad, and that they are perfectly justified in taking the law into their own hands in vigilantism.
Now, many people will take objection to what you've just said there on television. Do you fear for your own life? I understand that you had to come to the studio today accompanied by an armed guard.
I mean, there's obviously a very real security threat. This is not just any murder. It was a very high-profile murder of the governor of the most populous province in Pakistan. So if you're asking me if there's a security threat, then yes, there is a huge security threat. But if you're asking me whether I live in fear, then no. I think that it's a claustrophobic existence, and it's a choice that one makes. And I don't want to live in fear. I choose not to live in fear.
Okay, let's go to Amjad Waheed. He's also in Lahore there in Pakistan. Mr. Waheed, does Pakistan need a law? Isn't it very divisive, this law that we're seeing there? And doesn't it really violate freedom of speech? And one other aspect of this law, as we've just seen, as we've just heard from Shabana Taseer there, is that she has to be accompanied by an armed guard. That is what this law has done.
While we are talking about the internal dynamics of the Pakistani culture, I think it's not fair to label anything or any person as liberal, as secular, as conservative, as fanatic, or religious conservatives. These terms, it isn't fair to fix someone or something in a formulated phrase, because it's not true in the Pakistani culture. When we talk about Salman Taseer or when we talk about Mumtaz Qadri, in both the personalities, when we discuss about this issue, that Salman Taseer, his father, Mr. M.D. Taseer, has a religious background. Salman Taseer, his upbringing is a socialist upbringing. Salman Taseer, his recent past is a modernist recent past.
I'm asking you,
he left this world with a postmodern vision.
I'm asking you about whether Pakistan needs a law like this. As we can see, this law is causing a lot of fear. It's causing a lot of divisiveness in Pakistan.
As a conservative Muslim or as a fanatic, all these things are not possible within the Pakistani culture. This is the first point. While we talk about this issue straightly, the matter is that this is not the issue or difference of the ideological differences in Pakistan. It's not the issue of the differences of the liberals and conservatives in Pakistan. This issue is directly related to the popular sentiments of the people of Pakistan. And it is, we must and we need it to read the writings on the wall and to feel the pulses of the people. Then we will be able to really reconsider this issue in the light of the feelings of the popular masses.
Okay,
and while we talk about the sentiments of the popular masses, we will...
Okay, so let me go to Asma Jahangir. Asma Jahangir, we heard that this law reflects the popular sentiments of the Pakistani people. Is there any way of knowing how much support there is for this blasphemy law in Pakistan?
I think when there is an atmosphere of fear, it is very difficult to assess anything. But let me say that let us have this discussion in the framework that I don't think there's anybody in Pakistan, including Sherwano and myself, who believe that people should go around being abusive about our own religion, leave alone our own religion, about any other religion. We don't believe in that. We don't believe in demonizing religious personalities. But here we are talking about a legislation which is also worded very, very loosely, which says directly or indirectly. It doesn't look at intention and the kind of emotions that are stirred every time somebody is accused. So there may be a popular sentiment amongst those people and their followers who want to use this law to intimidate us and put us in fear, certainly. And can you imagine the children of all the minorities that I know in this country live under utter fear. They are so afraid that once their children go out of their homes, that they don't tear a paper, they don't throw a paper, they don't talk to anyone. And yet we are trying to justify it in the name of justice and in the name of a religion that preaches justice. I don't see the logic of it.
Shabana, as we've just heard there, this law is being misused in many instances. It's being used to target minorities, as some people allege. Critics of the law say that is what is happening. They also say that it's being used to settle personal scores by some individuals who just invoke this law when they don't like somebody. Now, you've done some research on how this law is being misused. You're a journalist yourself. What have you found?
Look, I feel like a law is there to protect. It's not there to persecute. And you know, in my research, I've seen that there have been about 480 cases since 1986, since the year that this law was introduced. There have been 480 cases against Muslims. There have been 350 cases against Ahmadis. There have been 120 against Christians. You know, 35 against Hindus, 10 others, and then 40 have been mowed down by vigilantes. And just since January 4th, which was the date that my father, Shaheed Salman Taseer, was assassinated, there have been 9 cases of blasphemy, 9 known cases of blasphemy. So I think that a law, no matter what law it is, it should be, it's there to protect people.
Amjad Waheed, how do you respond to those criticisms that the law is being used to target minorities to settle personal scores? How do you respond to that?
The issue of the misusing this law, when we go to the statistics, we can say that more than half of the victims of this law, as you call it, they are Muslims, not the minorities. This issue is not related to the issue of minorities. This issue is in fact an issue of the balance between the unrestricted and unlimited freedom of expression and the religious sentiments. Only this law can create a balance between these two things. While we talk about the misuse of this law, now we have an independent judiciary in Pakistan, we have a democratic government in Pakistan. It isn't possible to misuse the laws in the presence of an independent judiciary and in the presence of a democratic government in the Pakistan.
Okay, Asma Jahangir, do you agree with that? It isn't possible to misuse that law in Pakistan?
Absolutely. I would say this is not a statement that is realistic in the least. First of all, if that was the